welcome you all to the first chapter of history, that is French Revolution. Students, many countries of the world today they are having democratic system. We are also present are in the democratic setup. What about the system before 1947? We were under the British subjugation. We were under the British rule. At that time, there was dissatisfaction among the people towards the British domination. Likewise, many countries of the world, whenever they were under the despotic ruler, autocratic ruler, they have raised their voice against the domination. And the growing dissatisfaction in the mind of the people towards the government, towards the ruler, leads to revolution. And there were many revolutions in the history of world. Among them, French Revolution, Russian Revolution were the greatest one. And out of that, today we are going to discuss about the French Revolution. Now, before going to discuss about the whole topics of the French Revolutions, now the question arises, why this French Revolution occurred? What were the reasons that led to the French Revolution? What were the causes of the French Revolution? There are various causes. Out of them, the most important are financial causes, social causes, excessive taxation, struggle to survive, influence of the philosopher, and immediate causes. Students, today we are going to discuss about all these causes one by one. The first one is the financial causes. Students, in 1774, Louis XVI belongs to the Bourbon family, ascended the throne of France. At the age of 20, he got married with the Austrian princess Marie Antoinette. When he ascended the throne of France, at that time, the treasury of the kingdom was empty. What were the reason of this empty treasury? The treasury was empty because of various reasons. First one, long years of war drained to the empty treasury. Thereafter, Louis XVI helped 13 American colonies to fight war against common enemy Britain. Students, you must know there was a time when the most part of the world were under the British subjugation. Like that, 13 American colonies were also under the British subjugation. And during that period of time, Louis XVI helped these 13 American colonies and to get freedom from the British clutch. At that time, France invested more money on the war, and it added to a debt of the France treasury. Lenders who gave the state credit began to charge 10% interest on loan. During that time, in order to meet the war expenditure, Louis XVI took loan from the moneylenders, and when the moneylenders given loan to the king, they started charging 10% interest on that. Moreover, with the war, many other expenses were also there, like maintaining a large army, salary of the court officials, running government offices, universities. And how could the king deal with this expenditure? When all those expenditure rose at that time, king had no other options except to increase the tax. And this was the most important cause when the people led the revolution against the king. Because simultaneously increasing the taxes itself is a burden on the city people of the kingdom. But no longer people will remain silent. That is why it is an important cause for which the people led the struggle, a revolution against the King Louis XVI. Now, we'll move to the next cause, social cause. During the 18th century, French society was divided into three states: first estate, second estate, and third estate. The first estate consists of the clergy. Clergy means what? People, those who are related with the functioning of the church. The second estate was nobles, who belongs to aristocratic family. And the third estate itself deals with the common people. And this third estate itself consists of three categories of people. The first category consists of big businessmen, court officials, lawyers, administrative officials. All this belongs to the first category of the third estate. The second categories were small farmers and artisans. And the lowest category of the third estate were very small farmers, laborers, and servants. In this way, this third estate consists of three categories. Why I have told you lowest category? Because third estate itself consists of rich and poor people. The first category of the third estate was consist of the rich category because they were big businessmen, court officials, lawyers, administrative officials. So they were in the bracket of rich people, and the rest one, they were in the bracket of the poor people. So this is how the society was divided into. And in the French society, the third estate people, they were always neglected by the other two estates as well as by the king also. Now we'll go to the third cause, that is your excessive taxation. Students, before the revolution, the common men were imposed with heavy taxes. Common men means what? It was always the third estate category of people. Because in the French society, the clergy and nobles, they were totally exempted from paying all sort of taxes. Only the taxes was meant for the third estate category. The people of the third estate category, they were paying taxes to the king. Now the question arises, what type of taxes? Taxes of two types. One is your direct tax, another is your indirect tax. What is direct tax? Taxes like tithes. Taxes like tile. That is to be paid directly to the state. Moreover, churches, they also extracted their own share of taxes. That is called tithes. That means 1/10 of the agricultural produce. Students, you must understand there is the difference between tithes and tile. Tithes was the tax consist of the agricultural produce. What portion? 1/10 of the agricultural produce. And it was levied by the church. And tile was the tax to be paid to the king, to the state. And it was not agricultural produce. Moreover, except this tile and tithes, there were many indirect taxes which were levied on articles of everyday consumption like salt and tobacco. Student, you must understand one thing. Today also, at present, though we are living in a democratic setup, we are also paying taxes. And the taxes which we are paying now, that is coming under the indirect taxes, like salt and tobacco, that at that time also it was given by the people. But the most important thing here is that the taxes was always borne by the third estate alone. Why? Because the first estate and the second estate people, they were totally exempted from paying taxes. That is how. Now I am just showing you a figure. You see the figure. Two person, well dressed, sitting on the back of a old man. What does this pictures signifies? What does this picture implies? The pictures shows that the people, those two persons, those who are sitting over the old men, these two persons were nobles and clergy. And the person over which they were sitting, which they are sitting, they are the third estate category. This figure shows that how the third estate category were always borne the burden of taxes. Now, students, we are moving towards the next cause, that is struggle to survive. Struggle to survive. This is a very important cause for which the people also led the revolution against the king. In the 18th century, the situation of the country was very worse. Why? During that time, the population rose from 23 million in 1715 to 28 million in 1789. That to remember the students. 23 million, the population of France in 1750 was to 23 million. But by the end of 1789, the population of France rose to 28 million. What happened? What is the problem when the population is rising? Population rise lead to the shortage of food grains, the increased demand of food grains. But the condition was not so. When the population of France started increasing, the demand of food grains started also increasing. But the production was not so adds to the increasing demand of food grains. What will happen? When the production is less, population is increasing, at that time the situation will become very worse, because the price, and such situation was there in France, which led to the rise of price of bread. After that, people, those who are employed in different workshops, they were having fixed salary. Student, try to remember, on the one hand, the price of the food grains increasing. On the other hand, the workers, people, those who are employed as workers in the workshops, they are having fixed salary. Their salary was not increasing. Their wage was fixed. So, in this particular condition, it was very difficult for the people, those who were working in the workshop with a fixed salary, to manage their livelihood and to keep pace with the increasing demand of the food grains. As a result of this, gap between poor and rich widened. During that time, the situation became more worse when there was hailstorm and drought. Because hailstorm and drought always reduce the production, harvest. And all these causes, what causes? On the one hand, population is increasing, food grain price is also increasing. On the other end, the earning of the people was fixed. And this led to subsistence crisis. Now you can ask me, what is subsistence crisis? Subsistence crisis means an extreme situation when the basic means of livelihood is endangered. And this was the most important causes why the people led their revolution against the government, against the monarch. Understand? Now, let us move to the next most important cause, that is the role of philosopher. Students, you know, the people belongs to the first state and second state, that is clergy and nobles. They were highly educated, whereas the people, those who belongs to the third state category, they were not so educated. So they didn't know what is the value of rights, what is the value of freedom, and these values, that is the ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity infused among the people by the great philosophers like John Locke, Russo, and Montesquieu. Students, the most important thing I want to tell you, French Revolution has given three things to the world. That is liberty, equality, and fraternity. This was the most important contribution of the French Revolution to the world. And many democratic countries of the world, or many countries of the world, those who have got rid of the monarchical system, dictatorial rule, it is possible because of the guidance, of these great philosophers like John Locke, Rousseau, and Montesquieu. How? John Locke, in his book called Two Treatises of Government, he has written the book called Two Treatises of Government. Here in that book, he has refuted the doctrine of divine and absolute right of the monarch. What is doctrine of divine and absolute right of the monarch? There was a time when the king and queens, they were thinking that they are the representative of the God. God has himself given them opportunity, or had sent them to rule over the people. That is called doctrine of divine. And they were thinking that it is the absolute right of the monarch to rule over them. This is called the doctrine of divine and absolute right of the monarch. But John Locke, for the first time in his book called Two Treatises of Government, he has refuted the claim of the doctrine of divine and absolute right of the monarch. This was the most important concept given by John Locke in his book called Two Treatises of Government. Going a step further, Rousseau, in his book called The Social Contract, proposed that government based on a social contract between the people and their representatives. Previously, there was the theory of doctrine of divine and absolute right of the monarch. It was refuted by John Locke. There is no such claim of the doctrine of divine and absolute right of the monarch. Now, going a step forward, Rousseau is of the view that the government must be based on a social contract between the two people. On the one hand, the people, and the other hand, the representatives. Thereafter, Montesquieu, in his book The Spirit of Law, proposed a division of power. What is the division of power? According to Montesquieu, power should not be concentrated in the hand of one person. Rather, it should be divided among the different organs of the government, like legislature, executive, and judiciary. These are the three most important organs of the government. And Montesquieu's philosophy, that is the theory of division of power, is the greatest contribution to the world also. America, United States of America, these 13 colonies, when they formed a organization that is called United States of America, this was the first country in the world who adopted the principle of theory of division of power. But what about the common people? How could they know about the theory of John Locke? How could they know about the theory of Russo? How could they know about the theory of Montesquieu? It was beyond their knowledge. But slowly and slowly, these theories of Montesquieu, John Locke, and Rousseau circulated in different parts of France, being published in the form of book and in the newspaper. Common people, those who were unable to read and write, they heard. It was the theories of division of power introduced by Montesquieu, and the theories of John Locke, theories of Rousseau, read loudly by the educated people in front of the uneducated people. So that the people, those who were unable to read and write, they could also know the importance of this theory. And they drew inspiration from this theory, and it helped a lot in their struggle against the monarch. Because prior to this, people were unaware of this fact. They were thinking that God has sent the kings to rule over them. But this theory helped a lot to the common people. They got that the point that there is no theory such called doctrine of divine, and God has never sent anybody else to rule over the earth. And this was the most important, you can say, turning point in the life of the common people to raise their voice against the monarch. So today we have discussed about all those important causes, like your financial causes, social causes, excessive taxation, struggle to survive, and influence of philosopher. Next class, we'll discuss about the immediate cause for which the people led the revolution against the monarch. Now, just to sum up ourselves, I would like to ask some questions to you to test or to revise ourselves up to what part we have discussed today. Now, the first question is, what is tithe? What is tithes? Yes, tithe is the tax levied by the churches, that is consist of 1/10 of the agricultural produce. Tithe that was extracted by the church, that consists of 1/10 of the agricultural produce. Now the second question is, what is tithe? Yes, tithe is the direct taxes which has to be paid by the people to the state. It is the direct tax which was to be paid by the people to the state. That is called tithe. And the last question, what is the name of the book written by Russo? What is the name of the book written by Russo? Yes, the name of the book written by Russo is The Social Contract. The name of the book written by Russo is Social Contract. So students, today we have discussed all those causes of French Revolution. Next class we are going to discuss about the immediate cause. Thank you.